I found myself, instead of doing the intended self-reflection journaling, I was telling a narrative fiction story.
Welcome to Currently, the conversation brought to you by TVC Cherry Capital Airport, your Northern Michigan connection. Today, we're sitting down with Northern Michigan author Grace Ettinger, though mystery readers know her better as Eloise Corvo, author of the Stone's Throw mystery series, including Off the Beaten Path and the newly released Tunnel Vision. Her stories are deeply rooted in Northern Michigan, and you can feel it. The shoreline towns, the woods, the dunes, the beauty and isolation of small communities, and somehow she manages to turn all of that into compelling mystery. Today we're talking about storytelling, identity, imagination, mystery writing, and the strange experience of creating fictional people and places that begin to feel very, very real. Welcome to the show. I want to call you Grace, but you're also Eloise. Like, who are you today?
Let's do Grace. Keep it simple.
You're like, hey, I'm Grace. I'm sitting
Grace
next
here.
to you right now.
Yeah.
But when we look at this book, then you're Eloise.
It says Eloise on the cover.
It does. Eloise, and it's Corvo?
Corvo. Yeah.
What a beautiful pen name. I love that. One of the things that I want to talk about before we talk about that pen name and the books themselves, I want to get a chance to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and, what kind of kid were you when you grew up?
Geez. I grew up in Metro Detroit, a suburb called Grosse Pointe.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a lot of people up here kind of migrated north in adulthood. And I was a precocious, stubborn little girl who spent as much time as I could with like dirt under my fingernails, kind of escaping suburban confines, I guess, a little bit. And my family had a cabin in Elk Rapids.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's what really drew me up here and where I identify as my home. Yeah. I never really totally got with the Metro Detroit vibe. And so when things in my life sort of moved on and grew up, here is where I always knew I wanted to be permanently.
This was always home.
Always home.
I love that. And it really, you can really tell it in your writing, too. Like, you know this place.
Yes. I like to think so. I hope so.
You really do. Were you always drawn to books and storytelling when you were a kid?
Yes. A big reader. I had the same huge round glasses when I was like 6. Yeah. Except I think they were like pink and purple tortoise shell. You know what I mean? I was always a big reader and I loved writing, but I primarily wrote really bad poetry when I was really young,
Yeah, we all did though,
We all did. I feel like we all did. And I really had a passion for it until school sort of got a little more challenging. Middle school, you start picking subjects and I really leaned heavily into like the math, science, STEM. Kind of fell out of it until more recently. Picked it back up.
And you picked it back up. What kind of books did you like when you were a kid?
Nancy Drew was a bit, the mysteries, of course. And even younger, I was watching things like Scooby-Doo or even like Blue's Clues, which are still mysteries, right? Like little kid mysteries.
It's like really like toddler mysteries.
Toddler mysteries.
I love it.
Yeah. And so always into mysteries. I'm also a big horror buff and nerd too. So I was reading books I probably shouldn't have been from a very young age, which also, shaped me as a writer.
Yeah, so. I know you and I talked before the podcast, and you were kind of your mom's movie buddy.
Yeah.
Because she likes horror movies and your dad doesn't?
I was like her, almost like test subject or something. She loves them, my dad hates them. Yeah. And so as the oldest child, I think I was brought along so she wasn't by herself and have been desensitized, but also enjoy them now.
Right. So it wasn't like traumatic.
No.
Okay.
No. Love
Good to note. Yeah. Good to note. Do you remember, in this journey, the first time you thought, when you picked back up, that sort of writing habit that you had as a kid that you always enjoyed, and you picked it back up as an adult, the first time that you thought, oh my gosh, maybe I can do this professionally?
Oh my God, I'm still asking myself that question every day. I don't know how you feel about doing creative things professionally, but that's a hard question to reconcile with. I picked it back up as a mental health exercise. So I found, I think, on Pinterest, this is now years ago.
Yeah.
Like a 30-day, 30 prompt sort of journaling exercise. And so I started with that. And I found myself, instead of doing the intended self-reflection journaling, I was telling a narrative fiction story and just sort of weaving in the random prompt into this winding tale. And so that's when I kind of knew like, okay, fiction is way more my speed. And yeah, I think I'm still asking myself every day.
So I'm sitting here across from you, Grace, and yet readers know you as Eloise. You write under that pen name. What drew you to that name specifically?
Okay. It was actually more of a business decision than I think people realize. Yes. So I knew I wanted to write under a pen name, primarily because my day job as a policy analyst has some, I don't know, fairly high-powered correspondence, and I publish papers on policy issues. And so I wanted to keep some semblance of Google search separation. And so Eloise Corvo was the result of a handful of essentially marketing questions that I asked myself that resulted in Eloise Corvo.
That's great. It wasn't like one of those name generators.
No, but I did intentionally think about vibes, right? Like when you think, I feel like there's some lyrical aspects to it, and Corvo is a very intentional nod to corvids or crows, ravens, which has sort of like some dark mystery.
Very cool.
To it. So,
and Eloise is one of the best names of all time.
Thank you. It's very cute. Yes. I love it. But you really want a longer first name than last name. So if a book cover, your name is justified, the last name is in larger text.
That's a really good point.
There's like things like that.
You did consider. Use a lot of marketing influence on that.
Yes. Yeah.
You're talking about wanting to keep things sort of separated, especially from your professional day job to your professional, your creative job.
Sure.
In that world where internet makes it feel like privacy is almost impossible and people will figure it out kind of thing, what does it really mean to you, though, that you can like, hey, unless somebody's really digging, I mean, that has to give you a little bit of, I don't know if hope is right.
It's something, though.
But, it makes you feel, like, I don't know, like you would feel a little more safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think safety is important. It's also important to think about like signing books. Yeah. I don't want to be signing my legal name all over the place,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think safety has one aspect of it. I think I'm sort of bad at having a pen name, though, like, honestly.
You're like, here I am, I'm Grace.
I'm Grace, yeah. Even like on all my social media, my name is there, but it's not the handle, or it's not like what I primarily go by. So it's really not that I'm like hiding myself. Yeah. But it's definitely like one extra layer of like the first page of Google results won't intermingle. You know,
I spent about 20 years working in radio, broadcast radio. And in the first like probably 7 of those years, I went by Ms. Christal was my radio name. And part of that was, kind of the safety aspect, but also like I was looked at at that point in my radio career, I was kind of playing a character.
Oh, interesting.
And I kind of wonder, I mean, as the radio career grew and I was just Christal Frost, I didn't need any of that, character stuff because I was just interviewing people. But I think before, when it was a little bit more sort of comedy, I almost wonder if you, as your writing self, right, the person who's bringing these stories to life, if it feels like you can kind of put that persona on and it makes it a little easier.
Maybe there might be some like extra boost of credibility or something that I feel like I can give myself permission. I'm personally, Grace is not a fan of social media, is fairly introverted, and I do feel that sort of like donning of armor with having to do these things, but I can kind of have that little mysterious writer persona.
I kind of love that. Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's a perfect mystery name. So let's just say it like that. I think so many people dream about writing a book someday, but very few actually do, and let alone writing several books. Yeah. What, you were talking about, therapy and using the journaling idea, and then you were like, wait, I'm writing a book in my 30-day journal. What really made you take that leap into, pen to paper and now publishing?
I think, so Off the Beaten Path, which is the first in the Stone's Throw Mystery series, was the first book I ever completed. It wasn't the first book I ever tried writing. I started that winding 30-day whatever, turned into a really bad fantasy novel, actually. actually, that still sitting in my hard drive, dusting. I will never see the light of day, I don't think. But I think I came to the realization of that there's no stakes.
Right.
You know, it's literally just choosing to sit down and take the time to put that pen to paper. You don't have to show it to anybody. Nobody needs to know you're even doing it.
Yeah.
And so we put this pressure on ourselves that really isn't real.
Right.
And with Off the Beaten Path, that was when I sort of had that realization. And I was just like, well, kind of screw it. Like, it doesn't matter what this turns into, right? Publishing it was a whole other story.
Yeah.
But the actual just drafting was
I think that's fantastic.
yeah.
And I mean, it's really inspiring too. When we're transitioning into that building the Stone's Throw trilogy, and your fictional setting immediately recognizable, right?
Yeah.
To anyone who knows Northern Michigan. It feels so much like places people know here, you know, Empire and Glen Arbor and Sleeping Bear Dunes. But it's also fictionalized.
Yes.
So why did you decide to fictionalize it instead of like just, okay, we're going to set this in Northport, you know?
Yeah. I wanted to have two reasons.
Yeah.
I wanted to take some liberties with history and geography.
Okay.
So I wanted to build the town myself because different, like, for example, security cameras on one business as a clue has visuals on another, you know. So I wanted to be able to like mess with how streets were formed and actually build it intentionally with sort of the mysteries.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
And I didn't want anyone to get mad at me. It was the second. I didn't want the lovely people of Northport to be like, hey, you're missing this key piece of our town. So it's much easier if I can just build it myself.
That's a really good point. You did such a good point. I feel like Northern Michigan does have this fascinating duality, though. It's beautiful and it's peaceful, but it's also isolated. And that in itself lends itself to mystery. What makes this region in your mind, such fertile ground for mystery writing?
Well, yeah, I'm not the only one that thinks so.
Yeah.
There are a lot of mystery writers up here. I think there's two things. One element of mysteries that make them more enjoyable, in my opinion, is the setting as a character. So I wanted the Stone's Throw series to not be possible set anywhere else.
Okay.
I wanted the sand dunes and the fort, like I wanted it to be squarely in place. I wanted the Midwestern sort of passive aggressiveness to be in there as well, like personality traits of people that live up here. Games,
bless your soul. Yeah.
Euchre is a part of it, you know, like those kind of things. And I think that's not unique to up here, but other similar places that have like deep cultural history also are great mystery settings.
So tunnel vision, which I'm holding right now, and you and I both agree, like I will go paperless for all of my bills, but not for my books. Yeah. Like I need to physically hold it, and it's such a nice, weighty, but looks like it's going to be a real good, easy read, you know, like something that I can do at the beach. This is the second in that trilogy.
Yep.
How did it feel returning to this idea, this trilogy in the second book? How did that feel after accomplishing your first?
So good.
Yeah,
it was so good. I was so excited. Even like before the first one was published, I was excited for this one. Tunnel Vision is my favorite. Of the three. Mostly because it's set around Halloween, which is my favorite.
Which is mine too.
We had just talked about the giant skeletons.
We love it.
And so and Autumn Up Here is my favorite season as well. So I knew I would be, when I started drafting this, like how great it could be. And what fertile ground Fall Up Here specifically is with turning of the seasons and like mud for footprints. You know, like there's all these fun clues that you can do too. Yeah. And costumes. I think costumes are a fun element of mysteries too. People are dressed up differently. And
are you good at solving mysteries or just really good at writing them?
I'm better at building them than solving them. Really? Honestly, I've written a few murder mystery party games for folks too, or like escape room type puzzle games. And those are really fun to build.
Right.
On the solving side, I always kind of feel like I should be better. People are looking around like, don't you do this? Like, what is happening here?
Aren't you supposed to be better at this?
I know. I feel like I'm about middle of the road in terms of solving.
Oh, I mean, I'm kind of the same. I love puzzles and I love mysteries. but I don't know that I could build one. I think I'm better at solving them than I am
interesting.
really at I'm like, I don't know how she did that.
Yeah.
Or how anybody did, but I feel a little bit easier. It's easier for me to solve than, I don't know.
That's great. We need good solvers. So.
We do. Without spoilers, because I want people to read this, how does tunnel vision differ emotionally or tonally from Off the Beaten Path, your first one?
It's a lot darker. I'll give a little warning, I guess,
Really?
to folks. So the first book is considered a cozy mystery,
Okay.
which is an actual genre.
Okay.
And it
It's
has
like Hallmark movies and mysteries.
Yes.
Love it.
yes, there's really no swearing, pretty lighthearted, no like gore, or blood really, and it's like quaint town, very cutesy.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision, I've been told from reviewers that it goes in like a cozy and out like a thriller.
Ooh.
So if that's not your thing, then I would take a little warning because, again, it's like kind of spooky Halloween vibes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the whole thing is a little bit darker, but I just couldn't help myself. That horror lover side of me came out in like the last third of this book.
So you said this is your favorite of the three.
It
So
is.
that implies that you've already got the third one that you're working on.
It's mostly done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. yeah.
What is it about the middle book in a trilogy, though? That I will say this from the original Star Wars trilogy. Empire is my favorite.
Okay.
I love sort of that peak.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I can give you a theory. I don't know if it's true or not.
You sure?
I feel like from writing a trilogy, the first one was a lot of like background info
Sure.
dumpy, not necessarily like totally exposition, but you had to set a lot of the stage.
Yeah.
Second one, that's already done, so you
Right.
can get to the meat of the story. And the third, I found challenging because you have to wrap it up. It has to end. And so the middle fun is just like a romp,
And
you know?
yeah, I mean, and if you can end on a thriller vibe, I mean, I could just imagine how this is going to end. I can't wait. Kevin Kline, Executive Director, TVC Cherry Capital Airport. The airport is a gem in our community. For so many reasons. We talk a lot about those nonstop airfare everywhere. All over the place, north, south, east, west, but also like the gateway to the world. Why don't you brag a little bit? Tell us about your incredible airport.
Well, first of all, it starts with community. Those that fly Cherry Capital Airport, it's our community. And so that's what makes it very special to us. And it represents not only the building itself, represents the people. It's all, trying to create that relaxed feel going through. So the architecture is that Frank Lloyd Wright prairie style architecture that makes you feel like you're sitting in your living room.
It does.
Has a fireplace.
People love that fireplace.
It's great to cozy up, especially on the winter travel days. But in the summer days, it's a great place to tell people where to meet. And so, we offer all those amenities. Wi-Fi throughout the building. We have a great cafe with Cherry Country Cafe and gift shop that offers all kinds of local products, including alcohol. So you can have that last minute drink before you head out on the flight. That gives you that northern Michigan feel, whether it's wine or mixed drinks. You have that all up here. So we have all the amenities that people want, and then to be able to relax in a nice hold room that is surrounded by art from the local community.
Yeah.
So it when I say it's the community's airport, it's the community that puts that investment into making the airport itself, from the experience of parking all the way to getting on board the aircraft.
Make your summer travel plans right now. Best way to do that is go to
tvcairport.com.
Let's talk about that writing process a little bit and those characters. One thing that readers really seem to connect with is how emotionally real your characters feel. And, your books are mysteries, but they're really deeply character driven. So how do you create characters that are layered, but, emotionally real, and, instead of just sort of serving the plot? I mean, you really dive deep in character development.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I think it takes time.
Yeah.
I sit with them a lot.
Yeah.
Like, the first draft of any of these books, I would say the character development is probably one of the weakest elements that I have to go back in and layer and layer and layer in, because they're, in my head, sort of like little people walking around, and I need to learn about them in order to write about them.
Yeah.
So there's this funny process where I think early on it's just like, okay, we know this character is going to be this profession. They're going to serve this purpose in the plot.
Right.
And then that's sort of done first. And then after spending time with like, okay, how would they react to this situation? Well, wait, does that make sense? Would they actually do, and just over months, you just...
we met prior to this podcast, and I want to say that I found it really exciting because your partner, your husband, had mentioned that you talk about the characters in a way that like, oh, she wouldn't do that. Yeah. She wouldn't say that. Like it's almost like they're friends that you're defending.
Kind of.
And yet I'm so fascinated by people who can create these fully fleshed out, really very realistic characters that live in their heads. And I'm like, how do you turn them off?
Yeah.
I mean, do they just hang out with you? Were these characters hanging out with you until you wrote, are finishing this trilogy?
They would like pop in every once in a while without risking that I sound like I have like a mental illness or something.
Yeah, and we don't want to downplay this, but like it is very real,
yes. Like there would be something that might happen, like maybe I am in the grocery store and I see something or like watch an interaction and that might spark a thought or an idea. And then I might like squirrel it away in my notes app for the next time I sit down in my computer.
And you think about that particular character.
Yeah.
There was a Northern Michigan author who has since passed, but Richard Allen Hall, and I remember interviewing him a long time ago. And he said that in his last book, and he had, kind of a series going on. He said that he started crying when he's writing because he didn't realize he was going to kill off this character. And I was like, how do you not know this? And I'm wondering about that in the way that, do you know what's going to happen, or is it kind of a mystery to you?
It's kind of a mix for me.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a funny example. In the last book of the series, to back up a little bit, each book has a contained mystery, which is like textbook mystery. You want to kind of know who does it at the end of each book. There is, though, an overarching plot among the three. And so that overarching plot I had pretty fleshed out by the time I turned in the first book. But the self-contained mystery in the third book that I'm wrapping up now, I got through the first draft and realized, oh my God, I have the wrong guy.
Oh,
I wrote this with the wrong villain.
Gosh. He's innocent.
So I had to rewrite the whole thing. I didn't like start from scratch, but I had to like rework the entire thing because it was not, he just didn't do it.
Oh, wow. And you knew it.
And I knew it by the end. I was like, what is wrong? Something is not working here. It's like, oh, because he didn't do it. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's kind of funny.
That's really funny. What does your actual writing process look like? I know you talked about how you got back into writing and sort of these prompts, but are you a daily writer? Do you set aside time?
I do most weekdays. Okay. So I especially because I'm on deadlines now with these and I have to like turn it in at a specific time. I am very like regimented with that. And so I try and hit usually when I'm drafting, which is like writing, the actual first draft is 2,000 to 4,000 words a day.
Wow.
Which can take, that could take 2,000 words could be an hour. It could be 3 hours, depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
And I have an outline I write ahead of time.
Okay.
It might not go the way I planned, but I at least have something I'm working within a frame.
Yeah. And so it is, it is almost like it's a job, right? Where you're like, okay, I have to get this in. If you miss a day, do you feel it? I
feel like I need to make up for it. I try and be nicer to myself now than when I first signed the contract. It was a 3-book deal all in one, which was amazing. And then the second I signed it, I was like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into?
Yeah, there's a little bit of dread there.
Yeah, it was this funny mix. And that's when it sort of started sinking in like, all right, I need to treat this seriously.
Yeah.
And so I am now that I'm towards the end of this process with the 3, it's like, all right, I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And, they've been selling really well, which is nice. So if I need a little bit of flexibility, my publisher will likely grant that to me. But yeah, it's a serious gig.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's 100%. Mystery writing seems especially difficult, though, because readers are actively trying to outsmart you, right? Like, and this is where I would say that I am, I like to claim that I'm good at solving mysteries. When I read a mystery, I'm like, oh, I know who did
I'm breaking
it.
out the pen and paper.
Yes, I'm gonna have my own little notes and red lines, and So how do you balance dropping clues while still keeping people surprised?
The hard thing is that everybody comes into reading with a different preference and skill set. So I am a scientist by trade, and so as I'm developing these, kind of follow like a loose scientific method of like the sleuth is testing a hypothesis. They go through, some trials. They eliminate suspects, and each mystery has sort of a different skeletal design to them. So hopefully it's not like so predictable each time around. But my goal is to surprise roughly about half of the audience by the end, so that it's like these are not super difficult to figure out to some people's liking, and some people on the internet's not liking. But hey, what are you gonna do? So I'm trying to go for like a middle of the road, like you said. It's like a bingeable beach read.
Yeah,
is kind of the vibe I'm going for.
I love that vibe.
Yeah.
Which of your characters would you want most to have coffee with?
Oh, that's a great question. So Elliot Nett is one of the main men in the story, and he, throughout the book, which is not a huge spoiler, they're in sort of this will they, won't they, best friend zone kind of thing. And he is just like, he's a chef, so I think he would make phenomenal coffee and bring like scones or something. But he's really thoughtful, and he is a great listener.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be like a really nice, calm conversation, which like a lot of the characters need, because there's some crazy shenanigans going around.
Is there a character that you see yourself most in?
I think I'm in everybody a little bit. A lot of people that know me personally are like imprinting me onto Maudie Lorsa, who's the main character, because we share some similarities for sure. But I think I share like Eli has my taste in music and puzzles. Like he does the crossword, and I love doing crossword puzzles. And all of the other Stone's Throw characters, I think I've put little Easter eggs of myself and people I love in too. But I think, they're not wrong in that the main character and I do share some similar like worldviews, anxieties, and outlooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm going to have to figure out who I want to have coffee with now. So we've talked about writing as the journey, but publishing is a completely different journey.
Another beast. Yeah.
And your publisher's Level Best Books, it specializes in mystery fiction and true crime. And what has that journey been like for you, going from page to publishing?
Really wild, Christal. Yeah. And everyone's journey is different. There's a million ways to get published. I was really fortunate, I think. I sold these books really quickly. I mean, in terms of publishing timelines. And so it was a bit of a whirlwind for me. They have been nothing but gracious, which has been nice. They are a small press, so that comes with, constraints in and of itself. But I have been really fortunate to be like a traditionally published author right off the bat. And it's come with a lot of emotional strife too. Like there's some weight to that and some imposter syndrome with that too. And which has been good growing moments more than anything else. So
I would imagine, feeling that way too, especially if you're looking at this as like, I mean, as far as putting such a big part of your heart and soul into something, then having other people read it. And having other people judge it, having other expectations come through. I mean, I think that there is something to be said about maybe not just the imposter syndrome, but also do I want to let go of some of this?
Totally. Yes. It is still a question of like, how much of myself do I want to keep putting energy into this?
Right.
This is all like champagne problems.
Yeah.
Just like I'm not,
like, listen, I'm published.
I'm not mad about it.
I got a 3-book deal, but
there's some like kind of stuff that comes with that. And so I think I have actively decided to sort of stay off of the review boards
sure.
for better or worse,
Yeah.
and just say like my self-worth is not connected to what anybody thinks about this.
Oh
So,
gosh, yeah, because even beyond the publishing, you have readers.
yeah.
You have lots of
And
readers.
people I know.
And people who are going to give you their thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
And that can be heavy. I got to tell you, like, I feel like I've been told that I have a control issue. And maybe it's true. Because I look at things like this and I'm like, I wouldn't want to make changes, and that has to be a big part of this too. If you have an editor who's going, hey, this is really great, but what if we did this? And sometimes the knowledge of like, yeah, maybe that's better. I don't know.
I've
Did
gotten
you ever
way
struggle?
better at
Have
that
you?
too.
Yeah.
Mostly for the same thing of like, I am not connected to the outcome of this, which has been like my mantra over the last couple of years. More often than not, I find that constructive feedback is always good.
Yeah.
And even if it just brings up the conscious question of whether or not I should include something or not, maybe I won't take that feedback, but at least I had the thought that I maybe should.
Yeah.
I've definitely had the same gut reactions though of like, ooh, no, I want this. What are you doing? Don't attack me.
This is mine.
Yeah, this is mine. And there are ways to get published where you don't need to take that feedback.
That's true.
Too. So
that is true. I think that I just will take that to my therapist
there you go.
instead of to my editor.
There you go.
I do want to say though that, this series, Off the Beaten Path, became a local bestseller. It won an editorial standout award. That had to have helped a little bit with your confidence and even your perspective as a writer.
It did feel really good.
And you're like, people like me.
People like it. Yeah. Oh, I don't totally suck. Yes, that definitely helped. And mostly the support here has been the most gratifying piece of this. All of the local bookstores have been absolute champions of this. And I think hopefully they see themselves and their readers in the stories.
I love it. Now, we are recording this on Wednesday and Thursday, June 11th, we are going to be sitting down and having an actual live conversation. I'm really sad that this didn't come out before because it's coming out on the Monday after. Boom, June 15th. But I want to ask where people can get the book, how they can, maybe contact you. How can people support this?
Yes. So the book is available wherever books are sold.
Love it.
It makes things easy, especially, I'll always plug our local indie bookstores are my favorite places to shop. And I think all of them have signed copies too. So if you want a signed copy, you can go.
And you're doing a book tour.
I'm doing a book tour, yeah. So the event that we are speaking at tomorrow kicks off, I think it's a 12-leg book tour, mostly in northern Michigan, but we will be dabbling to like Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Detroit.
Love that. And is there a website people can find out more about that?
Yes. So my website is just eloisecorvo.com. All of the events are on my Facebook page under the same name. The easiest way and free way to support local authors like me is to just follow us on social media and review our books if you like them.
Also, it says author Eloise Corvo, Michigander nerd adventurer.
Yep.
This is fantastic. EloiseCorvo.com if you want to find out where Grace Eloise is going to be, how to find the books, how to support. You can actually shop right there.
Yeah, you can buy books on my website. Yep.
I know. I love that. I have to say, I have to ask, even though Tunnel Vision just came out, when's the last one coming out? Do you know yet?
Yes, the next one, knock on wood, barring any major crazy delays, will be out next April.
Next April.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. And I know you're working on you've got other things rattling around in your brain too, and you're working on a horror novel.
I am, yes. So it's actually written. I'm shopping it around to publishers right now. So hopefully that'll be out sometime 2027, maybe 2028, depending on how things go. And in the meantime, I like dabbling in short stories, so I'll probably have one or two in literary magazines. Story. Me too. They're so fun.
So much fun. Well, I have to say, Grace, it's just been a pleasure talking to you. I'm really excited about the live event tomorrow and to follow you along on this book tour. Just reminding folks that you can find out more at EloiseCorvo.com. You can pick up Tunnel Vision. It's beautiful. I love the cover art. And you can do that really wherever books are sold. Yes, shout out to our local bookstores. You definitely want to go there. Tunnel Vision by Eloise Corvo is available now. And if you haven't yet stepped into the world of Stone's Throw, this is the perfect time to start. Grace, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all of you for joining us for another episode of Currently the Conversation, brought to you by TVC Cherry Capital Airport, your Northern Michigan connection. And we'll see you next time.